Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's audio presentation on your soul's blueprint and planning for this amazing incarnation that you find yourself in this moment. In today's video, I am going to be covering the who, what, where, when, and why of your soul's blueprint. And I want you all to know that today's video was inspired by your votes. I put out a poll about 2 weeks ago, and yeah, about 35% of you voted to see this video, and that really surprised me, but I'm really glad that you're interested in this topic. If you've just stumbled upon this video today, you may not be familiar with me. My name is Maya Joy, and I have been a full-time psychic for about 5 years now, and a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing in today's video does come from experiences that I have had while doing readings for my clients, whether it's messages from their guides or my own or clairvoyant visions or things like that. So that's my sort of full disclosure for you guys. I wish that I could prove a lot of this scientifically, but right now that just isn't quite yet possible. So that's where some of this information is coming from. It's patterns that I've seen. I've done over 5,000 readings now, and things that I've seen over and over again or heard over and over again from people's divine support teams. So, if any of you have ever emailed me, you'll know that when I respond to emails, if I'm able to at all, if I have the time, I'll usually attach a quote that I feel will be helpful for the person who's emailed me at any given time. And one of my favorite quotes to attach is, "There is a plan, and your soul knows what it is," because this is the one that resonates very deeply with me, and I feel like it's a reminder that a lot of us need to have a lot of the time. And so what I want you guys to know today is genuinely, there is a plan. There is a plan, and your soul does know what it is. And one of the reasons that I know this is because in my readings, I do work with all of the psychic senses, but the one that comes through the most strongly a lot of the times is clairvoyance, meaning that I see a lot of visions. I even feel like I'm actually in the visions most of the time. One thing that I see over and over again when I ask questions to people's guide is I will see a vision of the guide with the client, with their higher self, with their soul, actually often like sitting down in what looks like a really kind of like beautiful, serene like conference room. And they're actually like sitting there and they're actually making a plan for this incarnation that the soul finds themselves in now. So they're actually like making a blueprint and sort of mapping it out. And every client seems to have this. Okay, there are certain questions that people ask that will bring out this sort of vision, such as the question like, what did I intend to learn into this lifetime? Or a lot of why questions. So if a client asks like, why was I born to this mother? Or like, why did I lose my job? Or like stuff like that. Those questions a lot of times will bring out me actually seeing their plan. But I think we can get really detached from this as we walk through life, because you are walking through the world and wow, does life ever feel random? You know what I mean? It's like, wow, like life feels bizarre a lot of the times, and it feels really chaotic, but what I want you to know is that it is not. Yes, Earth is weird, and a lot of strange things happen here, but your particular life path is masterfully planned and orchestrated, and there are higher beings ensuring that it plays out according to plan. So it's very hard to mess it up, and we're going to talk about why that is in a moment. But what I want you to know is regarding the soul's blueprint. Today we're going to focus in this audio just on your soul's blueprint for this incarnation. But one thing that you really should know is that there is a blueprint that extends beyond this particular life to your entire journey as a soul, which is created when you are created. Okay, so I don't want to go too far into that, but I just so you're aware, of the larger context. So let's start answering the question. So the first question, right, is sort of the who. Who makes this plan? Like, who makes your blueprint for this incarnation? Well, what you'll be glad to know is that you do. You make it. Your higher self, your soul, which is who you really are. That's actually you. Whatever your name is in this lifetime, this is more like the particular role that you're pretending to be in this now moment. But it's the real you, like it's the actual enduring, everlasting you who makes this plan. But you don't do it alone. So you make this plan in conjunction with your primary guide. And we do have additional guides, angels, and other support people, but it's mostly you and your primary guide, okay? For each soul, it could be a little bit different. And who is this guide? Okay, so your guide is another soul who is, for lack of a better term, further along on their journey, who's walked a path similar to yours with similar lessons, gifts, abilities, etc., who has been magnetically drawn to you. You've been magnetically drawn to each other. And their current purpose, work, mission as a soul is to help you in your evolution. Okay? So anyway, that's your guide. And mainly the two of you talk about, wow, here's what you've already mastered as a soul, or here's where you're really strong. Based on your recent experiences, what is it that you'd like to try to work on now? Like in this incarnation, or what areas would you like to grow? And in some cases, we might have our own preferences, like, in my next lifetime, like, I really want to learn about creativity and artistry. And your guide says, okay. We'll do that, but then also, I have observed here in recent incarnations, you keep getting trapped up in envy and jealousy. We need to throw in a little bit of lessons around that into your plan too. So it's like real, and this can be hard for our logical minds to understand, but there's actually not any time in the higher realms. So just when you're thinking about creating this time, just understand that it's created in a space of timelessness, so there's you can put unlimited amount of time into creating your blueprint, okay? Just, I know, like, our logical minds are like, what? But it's true. So mostly you, your higher self, and your guide together create the plan, but it's not really just the two of you. Like, when I ask this question of my own guides, like, who makes the plan, so they're like, well, yeah, it's mostly your soul and, your guide. But there's tremendous inspiration. The inspiration behind the plan comes from God, source, love, creator, energy. Like, that's very, very important, right? And there are others who can contribute to the plan. So a lot of times you'll get, this may be a separate video, but we all belong to a soul group, and we study in the higher realms with that particular group. It's often our very most intimate soul family group. It often can be about 12 souls. Okay, so anyway, that's another topic as well. But so those particular souls, which I call your soul monad, may offer input into your soul plan as well. They most likely will. So there's like this process of proposing who you want to be in the next life. Like, you could think of it as almost like a poster presentation or something. It's not exactly that, but just imagine that. And then people from your soul monad might be like, hey, I don't know, but I really think that it would be a good idea in this next life if you experience, like, physical pain, because that's something you've been really afraid of, and you haven't taken risks in past lives because you were afraid of getting injured and experiencing physical pain, and it's really limited your capacity to fully express from the core essence of your being. So, like, I really think that you should have to face, some sort of physical pain in this next life. And you can definitely veto that and be like, no, I don't want that. But a lot of times, like, we get really excited about our incarnation, and so we do actually take ideas, like, from our soul group. And the same goes with the Council of Elders, which are like, oh my gosh, how to describe them? Well, just they're a council of beings who helps provide feedback on the big picture evolution of our souls. They're sort of like this is not exactly true, but just for the sake of understanding, they're sort of like the guides of our guides. They will not say you need to include this in your soul blueprint for your next life, but they will say, I strongly encourage you to consider including this within the next couple of incarnations, like that type of thing. So, and it's a good idea to seriously consider what they're saying. However, it's really you have veto power on your soul's blueprint for this incarnation. Where do you make the plan? You make your soul's blueprint in the higher realms, which some people know as heaven, which is our true home as a soul. And there are a couple different spaces. You can ultimately make it in whichever space that you want. There's lots of spaces in the higher realms. Some of them are similar to the earth plane, but with an added element of beauty. Yeah, it's a little hard to say. So where you make it, it could be where your soul most prefers. So for some people, they might prefer to sit on a bench in a beautiful park setting within a forest and make their plan. A lot of people use, they're almost like what we might think of as meeting rooms within a library. There's a wonderful library in the higher realms where everything's alive and anyway, so some people will use a room there, and then we get some input from the location where our soul group studies and learns in the higher realm, which you could think of as being like a classroom. But you can make this plan it's usually going to be in a quiet place in the higher realms that you like. So when do you make the plan? Like I said, time does not exactly exist linearly in the higher realms. And so what that means is that, one moment doesn't necessarily actually come after another. So when we're in the higher realms, everything can be simultaneous. So, this is another topic, but just so you know, there is not a specific, we're so used to time deadlines and stuff. There's not, a deadline, or there's not any restraints around your planning period and when it has to occur. But typically, from our understanding of our human minds, you're going to think of this occurring over a significant period of time prior to when you're born into the earth plane. So there may be a designated period, right, where you work on the plan quite a bit, but you're usually going to then leave it, get feedback, refine, and it's going to be, you're going to really make sure you love this plan, your blueprint for your lifetime, or that you're fully on board before you actually, are born into this world. So most of the plan is, fully in place by the time that you're conceived. But, of course, a lot of it would have to be, if you think about that, right? A lot of it would already have to be determined. Some refinements are still made up until the moment that you actually are born into the world. And, as we'll talk about later, some refinements can be made while you're here as well. But most of it is fully in place. So they also wanted me to tell you that we plan incarnations as a series. So some of the lessons and gifts and stuff, they're planned multiple groups of lifetimes. So we often don't achieve a particular objective in a single lifetime. It can depend. But so we might know, okay, we're going to be working on that theme of envy over the next 3 lifetimes. We'll learn stage 1 in this lifetime, stage 2, and then we'll go deeper. And some of this could be seen reflected, I don't want to go too far off topic, but some of this can be seen reflected in your astrology chart. So if you have a lot of planets between 0 and 10 degrees of a particular sign, that could be an indication you're learning stage 1 of the energy related to that sign's themes. Or if you have a lot of 29 degree, 28 degree, 25 degree, that could mean that you're at a point now where you're in the further, not more evolved, but sort of more advanced stages of that particular learning. So what this means is that some parts of your blueprints for what we might think of as future incarnational experiences are already loosely determined, okay, like as part of this cycle. So the next question is probably what you guys are most curious about, and we're going to be answering this in 2 parts, and this is the what. So what does your plan entail? So we're going to talk about that, which is really exciting, and then also what does it not entail, which is part of understanding, what it does entail, I think. So what does the plan entail? First thing is exactly where, when, and to whom you will be born. That's pretty important. It's like, when are you going to, because again, all time is simultaneous, so there's a lot of choice in this matter. So it's like, when exactly are you, we're going to just focus on Earth for right now, but there are other options, like, when exactly are you going to enter the Earth timeline? The where can be very, very important as well, as it very much shapes, like, what our experience is as a soul, as you can imagine, right? If you're born, say, in India versus if you're born in Sweden, the opportunities to engage with certain energies are going to be very different. So anyway, and to whom you're going to be born. That who is really important. Our parents are very, 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 very carefully chosen, and they are not random. Like, they are souls that we've known already in some capacity, or who are a resonant match. Often they're a resonant match more so for where we're coming from rather than where we're going. So we might choose, like, a mother whose energy is really similar to who we were in our most recent past life, and so we, like, are most comfortable with that particular energy. For example, in my own case, I was very much in the Virgo energy in my past life. I chose a mom who's a Virgo, who's a nurse, and that was comfortable for me as an entrance point. So sometimes we'll choose that. The next thing that we're choosing is where, when, and with whom we will die. That gives us, like, the sort of structure that then we can fill in. So the birth and death are chosen. So if you think about it, it's the entrance point and the exit point for the lifetime. Everybody dies, they're telling me I need to say this, everybody dies exactly when they're meant to. And an NDE is what happens if somebody accidentally dies too soon. So it's like, oops, I died. Oh, oops, you're going to go back because it's not your moment yet. So, and that's why people will report that, like some sort of being said to them, oh, it's not your time. So a lot of times that being is their guide. And they're like, oh, but yep, not your time. On your plan, you got to go back. So the next thing that is, like, really important as part of the plan is that your primary objective as a soul in the life is chosen. And so this is like the big picture, why are you going? Like, we do not just go, like, we don't just, because why would you ever want to leave such a place of love, like, for no reason, right? So, like, we don't just come just for no reason. Like, there's always, like, a big picture objective. And these are not, like, probably what you might think, but these are usually, like, big picture lessons of the soul. You're going because you're going to practice the execution of trust or faith or love or self-worth, etc. Okay, those are some examples. So the big picture objective is chosen, and then secondary objectives or tertiary objectives are chosen as well. And there could be many, many, many. Some incarnations are more foundational. A lot of it's going to be based on how much time you have in the earth plane, how many secondary objectives that there are. But, like, let's say, okay, so your big picture objective is, like, to become a match for an act from a space of love, even towards enemies or whatever, right? So, like, that might be your big picture objective. So, like, secondary objectives could be forgiveness, kindness, humility, etc. There could be many more. And they're not just, like, listed out like love is the objective. No. It's like, love is the objective, and here are, I don't want to necessarily put a number on it, but many thousands of opportunities for you to execute that energy, like, in this lifetime. So the next thing that is chosen are the characters of your life. This is where a lot of, like, the time, for the sake of understanding, goes into your soul's blueprint. Because there's a lot of orchestration that needs to happen between different souls. So you choose who's going to be the characters of your life. Some of them are, like, already... their plans, they're already in their plans. So, like, they're already in Earth and stuff like that. And so it's like, ooh, yes, like, I'm going to be, so it's kind of, like, already determined because their plans were already determined, and they may have chosen you, like 100 years ago, like, you're going to play this role in my life, you know, as you'll be a young person, I'll be an old person, and, like, so some of that's just, like, brought on board into your plan. But anyway, so the characters of your life are chosen. Now, this includes who we might think of as, like, the heroes of our life, those people that, like, uplift us, inspire us, etc., and also the villains. And they really want you to know that the people who are, like, the villains who put us down and challenge us and stuff like that, those are very, 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 very carefully chosen, and they usually are a close soulmate. Excuse me. So, like, they're usually a close soulmate. So, like, a lot of the people who actually hurt us, they're beings with whom we share a great deal of love, because we really need somebody to challenge us in that particular way. So that's chosen in advance as well. Now, everyone that you're going to love is chosen. Like, this is, so, like, a lot of times when you have a strong reaction to somebody, they're usually, like, a part of your plan. So they wanted me to tell you that everyone that you're going to love is chosen. So, like, all the different, like, romantic partners and stuff like that are identified, right, at least as potentials. This does also include pets. So, like, pets, they can be very important. They can be, like, beacons of unconditional love. And they do have a spark of the divine within them, okay? It's not the same, like, exact type of soul that you might be, but they do have a spark of the divine within them, and they can be, like, called forth in the higher realms, and there is a place for the animals, and so you, like, may meet your particular, like, dog, cat, bird, whatever the animal is, like, prior to actually coming down here. And that's how you recognize them. Like, when you see them, like, in the pet store or at the Humane Society, you're like, oh my gosh, that's my dog, or whatever. That's why. Okay. So, you may have heard about soul contracts, soul agreements. This is part of the characters, planning the characters for your life. So, you need to agree, of course, as you can imagine. So, you're in the higher realms, you're creating your blueprint, and then, like, your soulmate's creating their blueprint. You got to get together with both of your guides and make an agreement. Like, okay, yes, you know, I will play the role of being your boss, and I will tell you that you suck at your job, and I will fire you because I know that in this lifetime you've got to break the habit of being an accountant and just taking the most secure job and eventually become a musician. So I will be the one to fire you. I agree that I will do that. Like, and, you know, you say, I agree that I will be a really good accountant for you up until the moment that you fire me to help your accounting business to flourish. So you make agreements like that with, like, what is the what? Like, what are you going to do for that soul? And that's what a soul contract is. That's another topic too, you guys. Oh my gosh. But anyway. Okay, another really important thing that's part of your soul blueprint is your physical body. This is very important. And there's a lot of possibility with this. Even once the parents are already chosen, there's a lot of possibility as to how your body is going to be shaped, your height, your appearance, your gender. The body choice is very important. Okay, like, they're just telling me to say that it is not random. So, like, a lot of us are here and we think our bodies are wrong in some way. They are not wrong. Like, our body is specifically chosen to help us to be carriers of the energy that we wish to explore. It's very, very key to learning our lessons. So all that is chosen. And there can be some flexibility around that, too. Usually, like, the intended gender is pretty well known. It may be as part of a cycle. We're currently in a cycle of being female or male, or just it's best to help us learn our lessons, whatever gender is going to be best. The appearance. Sometimes we may have misused our appearance in the past, and so we need a different appearance or different things. And our appearance, there's some elements of our appearance, particularly the light that shines within our eyes, which is rather unchanging because it is birthed from the soul essence itself. But most of the appearance can be altered in some way. And so we do change, for example, cultures, nationalities, like race, from lifetime to lifetime. Okay, next thing that is part of your plan that's really important with your guide is you do choose a communication strategy. Okay, because essentially, like, the role of your guide is to guide you according to your soul's blueprint in any given lifetime. It's part of the deal that you will not remember or be able to see the blueprint exactly, but you'll be able to sort of sense it in some way. Okay, because if you knew exactly what you were going to do, then the opportunities for growth and evolution wouldn't actually be there. Like, there's the element of free will is really important to all of this. So anyway, so your communication strategy is chosen. And it's not just one strategy, but you'll discuss with your guide. Okay, now we have different agreements with our guides. Sometimes we are, like, really confident, and we're like, you know what, just don't really step in unless I'm, like, really way off track. You know, I can do this. I got this. Like, and sometimes we're like, I'm scared. This is a lot. Like, in my plan, like, please hold my hand, like, every single day and give me so many signs. But this could be a lot of things. Like, they'll say, okay, don't worry about it. I'm going to come to you in dreams. Like, I will influence your dreams so you'll be able to know what next step to take. I'm going to come to you as a bird. I will give you the feeling of love in your heart when you need to move towards something. Like, I will give you the angel number 777. Okay, like, those numbers, I don't really think that those are used as often. That's more of a synchronicity, which we're going to talk about later. But anyway, it could be. Anything could be chosen at this time, but typical strategies include that your guide will influence your thoughts. So if your thoughts are, like, really off track, they'll put thoughts in your head. You'll think that those are your own thoughts, but they actually came from your guides. So they'll, like, direct your thinking towards that which you were meant to explore according to your plan. Okay, they're telling me to say it, like, we have many ways, like, we have unlimited ways to guide you. So they will do whatever is necessary to guide you back to your plan. But some of those strategies are discussed. And there may be some that work particularly well for one soul that don't work as well for the others. So, for example, like, one strategy that's sometimes used is that your guides will speak through other people. So they'll use other people to say specifically to you with words what you need to hear. This works really well for souls that are really sensitive to the words of others. It doesn't work so well for souls that don't value others' opinions or are more so exploring independence in any given life. But things like that are discussed. Now, the next thing that is part of your plan includes what specific challenges you're going to face and setbacks. Every soul has challenges as part of their plan and setbacks that are part of their plan, and they are perfectly designed and chosen for that individual soul. That is part of the plan. So those are especially a lot of the things that seem really, really random in life, but they're actually some of the most detailed plans in advance. And, like, nothing bad will ever happen to you that's not part of your plan. Absolutely not. Okay? Another thing that is in your plan is your, things like addictions, injuries, and illnesses, and how to recover. So again, like, all of us are going to experience things like that. Okay, I'm saying that there are some very, very exceptions for, like, souls that are just starting out, but, like, we all have within us an innate healing capacity, and so there are going to be opportunities put in your plan to exercise that capacity. So you may choose that, like, yes, like, I'm going to experience the addiction of alcoholism, for example, or something like that, and here's my plan for recovery. So what they do want you to know is that there's really only two circumstances. Like, either you're going to plan for an addiction, illness, and injury, and it may be a number, and there's going to be a plan in place for healing. Or you're gonna plan for an addiction, illness, or injury as an exit strategy. So sometimes, like, we do plan, oh yes, like, we're gonna get pancreatic cancer. That's how we'd like to exit the earth plane. Or we're going to get pancreatic cancer, and this is the particular healing mechanism that we're going to use to recover from that. Does that make sense? So in other words, there's never an addiction, illness, or injury that you're just meant to live with for the entire duration of your lifetime and never experience any sort of healing around, but not die from. Okay, anyway, so again, that's another topic, but they just want you to know that recovery opportunities and strategies are discussed. Sometimes they're free will choices where we may get the choice. And so this is there are sometimes parts of the plan involve, if you make this choice, then you'll experience this, or if you make this choice, then you'll experience this. But the different pathways are planned in advance, if that makes sense. So there's contingency plans, if you will. Another thing that's part of your plan are the spiritual ideas that you're going to encounter, okay? Because ultimately this is about understanding creation, God's source energy, as it lives within us through the experience of coming to know ourselves as a result of how we interact with reality, more or less. And anyway, so a big part of what's exciting to the soul is remembering who we are as a soul, which is what the awakening process is. And usually that comes through some sort of spiritual experience that we have in life. So things like mystical experiences are often determined in advance, but also what spiritual ideas that we're going to encounter. So your religion that you're born into, maybe you're born a Buddhist, or maybe you're born into a Muslim family, or maybe you are born into an agnostic family, or things like that. That is planned in advance, as well as now sometimes spiritual experiences are planned in advance that are going to let us down, and that's planned in advance because it's important for us to find our own truth or whatever. So we might plan okay, at age 26, you're going to go to India and you're going to meditate with a guru for 2 weeks, and you're going to feel very, very dissatisfied because it's time for your soul to evolve beyond the guru template and become your own guru or whatever. So anyway, that stuff is planned in advance. Important teachers, again, which often are soul family in some way, stuff like that. Another thing that's planned in advance are your gifts. Every soul has gifts. Society sometimes can make us feel like a gift is only, I don't know, a particular musical talent or particular athletic ability or something like that. But no. Every soul has gifts, multiple gifts. Sometimes the gifts are explicitly psychic, like clairsentience or something like that. They could be many, many, many things, but just know that everybody has gifts. Yes, beautiful, beautiful gifts. If you want to know, Maya, what are my gifts? In some cases, it might be helpful to look at what your self-node is. It's astrology. So this is not an astrology video, but just to say, or even your Jupiter. Those could give you indications. Another thing that's planned in advance are major turning points, forks in the road. Those are very key in your plan. Okay, the major turning points, the choices that you will make when faced with these big decisions, and how your guides will push you to make a particular decision. So, what is an example of a major turning point? Getting fired from a job, a major breakup, a huge wake-up call. Sometimes that can be an illness, a serious illness. Those are some examples of major turning points. I'm sure most of us may have faced one already. Everyone will face one. A typical number to face of major turning points in a lifetime is 3, but that's going to vary from soul to soul, where it's your whole life comes crashing down the plan that you thought you were on. It's it suddenly ends, and all of a sudden you're on a new plan. That's part of it. We want to make the most of our time on Earth, so we really need these. Once we finish one set of, we master one sort of particular energy or whatever, then it's boom, where suddenly everything changes and we're put in a new direction. That's extremely carefully planned. And then the last thing I want to touch on that's always a part of our plan is the time of your awakening. Okay, so when you wake up spiritually. And they want me to tell you that this is why it's really hard to wake up another person. So, like, a lot of us, like, we might want to wake up, like, a soulmate or a twin flame or someone like that. We think if we just tell them the right thing, they'll suddenly have divine awareness and they'll be awake like we are or whatever. That doesn't work because the time, and it's not usually a single moment. There are cases. Usually it's a period of time as it exists in the earth plane during which it is a soul's time to awaken. And these sometimes occur in waves, where a bunch of souls will awaken at one given time. And so, like, the year 2000 was that for some souls. 2012 began a process of awakening for some souls. In some cases, it's very individual. And my own moment of awakening, just to share an example, I was literally basically put into like a coma for 8 days and then emerged with a higher understanding. So it was just like, this is your time. This is when you need to awaken. Your previous life explorations are now ending and you're starting out on a new path. And so it can be like that, or it can be more gradual. Like, oh, we'll introduce you to this little book and like this will start your process of remembering who you are, and then this will happen. So like some souls might like, by the way, the awakening process is something that we enjoy the most as a soul, and it's something that this is like usually the most exciting thing for a lot of souls. Like we love forgetting and then being able to remember again, because it's such an exciting experience. Some souls will like really savor it and they'll really like draw it out, like, oh no, like I don't want to really remember who I am in a short time, like let's make it last 30 years, like, or whatever. Any amount of time is appropriate and is an option, so it's just whatever is best for you. And usually, like, the process of awakening, if you're wondering, like, what does that look like? What stages are involved? For some people, it might be good to look at the journey of the tarot, because that often shows what an awakening journey can look like in the material plane. So if that resonates with you, maybe look into that. But anyway, may not be true for everyone, but that's a typical trajectory, like the fool's journey, if you will. Okay, so those are some of the key things that your soul's blueprint entails for this lifetime. Now, let's talk about what's not part of the plan. Okay. Now, it is important to recognize that some exceptions can be made, but these things are typically not planned. So, first thing that's not planned, minor choices, like what, now there's going to be exceptions for a lot of these, which I'll state. Minor choices, what you're going to wear. Are you going to buy the blue sweater? Are you going to buy the red sweater? And I think this is why, like, a lot of us struggle with these choices, like, which sweater should I buy and stuff like that. But there are exceptions. So in some cases, when it's part of a soul agreement, like, with a soulmate, I'm going to meet you, let's meet up, and you'll fall in love with me or whatever. For example, sometimes, like, to spark our soul, like, to give us chills and spark that soul memory, we will choose to wear a specific thing at a specific time. So it's usually in regards to meeting other people. So, like, let's say you're going to go on a first date or something like that, and you just feel really strongly compelled, God, I know I need to wear this green shirt. Like, that can be part of your plan. But day to day, what we're going to wear, stuff like that, that's not part of our plan. So that's part of our creative expression as a soul. It's one thing that makes life really exciting on Earth. How are you going to show up? How are you going to dress yourself to meet your objectives? Another thing that's not part of the plan is the specific words that we're going to say. Now, again, there may be some specific words that are chosen in advance if they're part of a soul agreement or soul contract, where you do agree with a particular soul, yes, we're going to meet, and when we do, I'm going to say to you, you are this or whatever. But it's usually just like little phrases or things like that. But generally, how we want to express ourselves is discussed in advance, but we have free will as to specifically what words we're going to use to say that. Another thing that is not chosen in advance are feelings. How you're going to feel. Okay? Like how you're going to feel about particular things. And so these are areas where we can really, really shape our reality in what we might experience as positive or negative ways by working with our own feelings, the way we present ourselves, our words, and stuff like that. These are all part of free will. with feelings, intentions are set, but they do not always go as planned. So, like, we could set the intention, in this lifetime, my intention is to feel great love in my heart all throughout my life. Well, life can happen sometimes, and we forget what we were intending to feel. But it can be good to ask, like, in this moment, even as you're listening to this, what did I intend to feel in this lifetime? So some plan around feelings is discussed. So, for example, like, if you are going to experience depression in a particular life, which is often used as a catalyst for transformation for the soul, depression is often our soul's reaction to a particular phase of our existence. It's like dying or coming to an end and a new phase being born. And the resistance to that phase can create depression sometimes. Not always, just saying. Okay, they were telling me to say that. So anyway, so intentions about feelings are set, but this is an area where we do some on-the-fly sort of stuff. And, like, our guides can input particular feelings into our heart in a given incarnation to help us find our way. Another area that's not planned in detail are the specific details about the care of our physical body, including our food choices. If physical life is something that we're really working on, which is the case for not a lot, but like a good amount of souls, where we're learning, okay, we know how to thrive as a soul, but how do we care? Because caring for the physical vessel is a big part of self-love, or it's one major lens through which we can experience self-love. So anyway, if there's like a big physical thing that's really important for your soul, then that will be put into your plan. So, like, you may know that at some point in time, like, your soul's going to experience itself as God's source love through the experience of having compassion for the animal kingdom through the experience of being vegetarian or vegan or something like that. But, like, the specific things are not part of the plan. Like, and you're going to do that by, like, eating oatmeal and then, you know what I mean? Like, no, like, those are free will choices. And again, that's part of what makes, like, Earth really exciting, is that because we don't have physicality in the higher realms. So here we eat and we sleep and all of that kind of stuff, so that can be exciting as a soul. But there is free will around that. Another thing that's not part of the plan is the exact amount of money that you'll have, the material possessions that you'll acquire, etc. So now, if there are very particular material possessions that are core to your purpose or something like that, like, let's say your purpose is to be a musician and to spread, like, God's source love, like, through the harp, then yes, like, someone will give you a harp or something like that. You'll receive that from the universe at a particular time because it's really key. But generally, in regards to finances, what is discussed is the general standing. So you may make an agreement with your guides. I will never suffer financially in this life. And what does that mean? It means you always have what you need to survive. Okay, so, like, that may be chosen, or it may be chosen, you're learning about abundance in this lifetime, so you will be born into a wealthy family, and you will have a flourishing abundance, or, like, you will face financial hardship or whatever. So generally it's chosen, but, like, exact details about amounts of money and stuff like that are not chosen. That's, like, one of the things that we determine as we go along. Okay, so another thing that's not a part of the plan because time does not exist. So there's not a lot of specific dates besides the date of our birth and death. And the reason why is because every soul here does have free will. So general time periods are part of the plan, but, like, they can shift a little bit. So let me try to provide a specific example. So there may be, like, the knowingness that you're going to meet a particular soul, and our intention for the soul agreement is that we're going to meet that particular soul in the spring of 2016. That's our intention. And usually, most of the time, it will play out like that. But sometimes, like, souls can go, like, really, really rogue and just, like, it never lasts long, okay? But not from the perspective of our guides. But, like, anyway, things can shift a little bit. So, like, maybe the intention is, usually, again, they're saying it does go according to plan, but, like, things can shift a little bit. So, like, it's going to happen roughly around that age of, like, 26 or whatever. But sometimes, like, maybe the intention was we're going to meet on March 1st. Sometimes it might be March 2nd, or it might be, like, February 28th. But, like, for these sorts of agreements, especially if it's something that relates just to you, then it usually is going to go just exactly right. But if there's lots of people involved, things can shift a little bit. And there also is, and this again is another topic, there are interferences in the timeline on the Earth plane that are current and in recent Earth time that can shift things in a way. Okay, so some specific dates are not determined, but the fact that a certain thing will happen, like you will be employed in this profession or you will meet this particular soul, etc., that is guaranteed. There's slight flexibility around when it occurs in the experience of Earth time, which is not a real phenomenon. Okay, like, it's part of the illusion. That's why, like, it's not real, okay? Anyway. Okay, so generally speaking, your manner of personal expression is not exactly part of the plan. There's an intention set, like, in this lifetime, I want to be this type of person, I want to be the creative person, or I want to be the teaching person, or I want to be this, that, or whatever. But your exact manner of how you're going to move your body, the words that you're going to use, the tonality that you're going to put behind them, or all of this stuff, that is free will. And finally, what is not part of the plan is how you're going to respond to the events that unfold as a part of your life plan. So, as I talked about before, there's usually an if this, then this approach as part of the plan. So, life in general is a very creative process, right? So it may be that the life event is determined in advance, and that life event is that you're going to complete a cycle with a particular soul. They're going to leave you or break up with you or whatever. Now, it's never really complete there, okay? But like, anyway, that's another topic too. But anyway, you're gonna complete it for this lifetime to make yourself available for another soul or whatever, because that's going to be good for your growth. So that plan, the actual leaving or ending of the relationship, is determined in advance. But exactly how you're going to respond to it is usually free will. So there may be a couple cases. So, option one, if you then decide you will not let go and you end up actually chasing after this soul even though they've told you it's over, then you will experience this, then you will experience anxiety, depression, until you surrender or whatever. So there may be that. Then there's like, if you completely accept it right away, then, shortly afterwards, then you will meet, this other soul or whatever. So there's like an if this, then this approach, because ultimately, in order to benefit and come to know ourselves as expressions of the divine in this lifetime, we must be able to make choices like while we're here. The plan ensures, that the big picture objectives are accomplished so that we're all continuing to move forward in our evolution. But there's also the need to balance it with elements of free will choice. Okay? So, again, I want to state that the purpose of your guide is not to solve your problems for you. The purpose of your guide is to present you with things that are representative of your soul's chosen exploration in any given lifetime so that you may make the free will choice to align with that which is going to be the best expression of the realization of those goals that you have chosen in advance. Okay? So that's the purpose of your guide. And they have many ways that they can do this. And although they may allow you to go in a time period where you feel a bit off plan, and like a key indication that that is the case is just a general like nagging feeling of like something is not right, something is not right, something is not right, something is not right. It's only allowed for as long as it is productive, and they will do everything possible to guide you back towards your plan. Okay? Sometimes, like a soul, if a soul is, their soul is never really off plan as such, but sometimes a soul will sort of abandon their objectives for a brief time period and indulge in behaviors from a past life or something like that. That is ultimately allowed if it is going to be for the greatest good in the long term. Okay? Anyway, but your guides will find a way to get through to you. So it is the case sometimes that they're always guiding us. Occasionally they'll step back a little bit if we're just really right on track or whatever, and, you know, because then you're already on the plan. But like, they're always guiding us. If one particular way of guiding us isn't really working, then they'll always find another way as long as we want to be guided. The only time that the guidance, like where they can't do anything, is if they give you the signs, you get the signs, and you reject them. So like, they can give you every single sign, like it's, you know, say like it's time in your life for you to move to Wichita, Kansas, okay, because that's what's going to be best. So they could give you every sign, you know, they're giving you all the license plates that say Wichita. Every time you turn on the radio, the TV, you hear them talking about Wichita, Kansas, you know, you have dreams about going to Wichita, Kansas. Like, they're giving you every single sign, but like your ego rejects it and is like, I can't be someone from Wichita. That's when, you know, that's when we're there's nothing that they can do, because they can guide us. They will not actually overtake you and make you do something. They're not allowed to do that. Angels can do that, but that's only to save our life. Okay, but guides are not going to do that. So anyway, so that's the only time that the interventions for the plan are not working that well. And that's where sometimes like shifts need to be made in timelines and stuff like that, because ultimately we do have free will. So, but they're never going to give up. They will always guide you back to your plan. Okay? They will always guide you back to your plan. So the only time that you will really, and you'll never get too far from it, because they're always going to, like, if you're not listening, they're going to come through, like, other people to try to, like, create the circumstances you need anyway. So anyway, but if they're giving you every sign and you just reject, they'll keep trying, but that's where things can get difficult for them. Okay, and then I know some of you are interested in synchronicities. So what a synchronicity is it is the response of creative reality, right, when you are on track with your blueprint, you know? Okay, so that's what a synchronicity is. And then the last thing to close out is why do we have a plan? You know, why do we have this plan? And it's so funny because I asked my guide, why do we have this plan, you know? And the response was most souls would not dare to incarnate without one. Okay, because this particular reality of Earth is one where anything is possible. And, yes, so without a plan, we could get into anything down here. Okay, including some things which are like really, really detached from love. Now, sometimes that's put into the plan, but in anyway, like, this is not our true home, and it's very scary for a lot of souls to come here, because the vibrational frequency is much more dense and harsh in comparison to our true home. So the plan is, again, most souls would not dare to incarnate without one. The plan is what makes us feel safe and secure enough to actually enter into a physical body. So that was their first response. And they also shared with me that life on earth is sort of like music. It's like a beautiful symphony. And so what the plans do is they help to make sure that everyone's reading the same piece of music. Okay? So we all have like notes that, now not everybody's notes are the same, right? Some people are playing for the flute and some people are playing for percussion or whatever, but like the notes all work together to create a beautiful music within the earth plane. You know, and some movements of the music are truly beautiful. Some are like very intense or whatever, but like you think of it like that. So while the notes are written in advance, the heart of the music is up to you. Okay? So your plan is like D, F, B flat or whatever, like, but the spirit that you put behind it, the amount of love and passion with which you play the notes is completely up to you. And the final thing that I would like to say is that it is never too late for you to change the style of your performance. You can always become that musician that you've wanted to be, by bringing forth that particular spirit that is your soul's expression and infusing your music with that. So the closing question is, will you dare to play to your soul's fullest intention? And with that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has listened today. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being here. If you like this type of thing, like you just like to listen to me discuss spiritual matters, first of all, God bless you. And second of all, this week I am going to be a guest on a podcast called I Woke Up Like This. So if you'd like to hear that, maybe download that podcast from the iTunes, or look for that, because that's going to be upcoming this week. And when it does come out, I'll try to somehow link it below this video, but it's not out yet. So think that'll be towards the end of this week. And that is a podcast by Julie Elizabeth Day. So I'm not sure if her name will be there. I think it might be. Sorry guys, I'm not very familiar with how to subscribe to podcasts, but for those of you that are, if you want to hear my podcast, My Awakening Story, and more about that 8-day coma and everything, then definitely seek that out towards the end of this week. So anyway, guys, thank you again for listening. Remember that all is well. Everything is unfolding perfectly. And yes, there is a plan, and your soul knows what it is. So guys, have a great day. Many, 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 many blessings to all of you. Go forth and enjoy this gift of life that you have here in the earth plane at this moment. If you like this kind of content and you would like to experience more videos like this, then please do come back here to the Maya's Dream channel any Friday for a brand new video or audio presentation like this one. Okay, big hugs to all of you. Many blessings. Have a great day, and namaste.